In the restaurant on Christmas, the window seats are all occupied by well-dressed men and women enjoying a romantic dinner. There was only a barely visible night view of the tall buildings above their heads, and no matter how much I stretched my neck, I couldn't get a full view. I kept jumping on my tiptoes in the hall, trying to see out the window, when someone suddenly tugged on the hem of my coat. It's Kirigiri Kyoko. She tilted her head and looked at me with cold eyes, as if she was silently reproaching me. "I've kept you two waiting. Please come this way." Led by the waiter, Kirigiri and I headed towards the hall. On the way, we passed a very big tree. This pine tree has supposedly been shipped from abroad and was decorated with sparkling colored lights and stars, which are no less bright than the lights on the street outside. We were taken to a spacious single room. On the table, covered with a snow-white tablecloth, there are classical-style candlestick holders with all their candles lit. Napkins and cutlery for 3 people have been placed on the table. One of the walls of the hall is made of glass, from which the nightscape behind it can be seen. Whoa, so nice! I couldn't help but rush to the window, looking at the streetlights glittering in the middle of the cold night. "Kirigiri-chan, come look!" Kirigiri behind me was a little hesitant, so I gestured her to come over. She met my eyes with a somewhat troubled look, and then approached the window. She stared at the nightscape, her cheeks flushed slightly, her eyes mostly fixed at the glow of the street lamps. "Isn't it pretty?" I asked Kirigiri, and she nodded. "Can you say it?" "Pretty." At this time, Nanamura Suisei walked into the room. "Young ladies, I've kept you waiting for a long time. The Christmas presents I gave you both must be to your liking." The presents he's talking about should refer to the nightscape. I suddenly felt very embarrassed. I was like a hooked fish that was stupidly excited, so I quickly stepped away from the window. Nanamura pulled 2 chairs out skillfully for me and Kirigiri to sit on. I kept nodding and bowing my head humbly while sitting down on the chair. I have no idea how to act appropriately in such a place. Kirigiri, on the other hand, wasn't rusty at all. She sat on the other chair like a princess and thanked Nanamura without moving. Although Kirigiri Kyoko's personality is unexpected for a young girl, she's still an elegant and straightforward girl. When it comes to cases or detective-related matters, she exudes a calm and repulsive temperament, but she grew up in a family with detectives as their ancestral business, so I think this is also related to her birth. Nanamura placed the Christmas hat that was on his head on Kirigiri's and sat down on the opposite seat. He didn't explain why he placed his hat on Kirigiri's head, and Kirigiri did not make any reaction. It's adorable anyway. Better not to think more about it. "It is a great pleasure to have dinner with 2 such beautiful young ladies on Christmas Eve." After Nanamura sat down, with his arm on the table propping his chin, he suddenly looked straight at me. His deep gaze made me feel overwhelmed. "What's wrong?" I couldn't help but say embarrassingly. Nanamura is a good-looking man with a sharp outline. He has the appearance of a stage actor. He's impeccable as the person to have Christmas dinner with. 12,000, 9,800, 23,000. Nanamura abruptly declared several mysterious numbers. "What?" "The price of the glasses you're wearing, the price of your coat, and the price of your shoes." "How did you know?" Almost all the numbers he said were correct. "There are several ways to observe a character, and among the most effective methods, quantifying the price of their personal belongings. Knowing the value of an item is arguably the fastest way to see through the nature of things." Oh. "Samidara Yui, for example, you seem to have confidence in your legs and feet, so you spend more money on your shoes. However, judging from the wear and tear of your shoes, you don't have the characteristics of engaging in a particular sport. Despite your extraordinary and natural leg strength, you still chose the path of a detective. You want to be a detective at such a young age, presumably because of your past." I get it." I stretched out my arms and interrupted Nanamura. Who knows what he'll say next? Nanamura smiled contemptuously and lifted one finger to the window. 74.45 million. This is the price of the nightscape here, the sum of the electricity bills for all the buildings in this direction. The nature behind beautiful things like these." Nanamura squinted his eyes in a pretentious manner. This detective monster is truly incomprehensible. Nanamura Suisei, a 00 rank detective. Detective Library DSC, Detective Shelf Classification, number 900. He has the number 9, which indicates that he mainly deals with murder cases, and the number 0, which proves that he's reached the top of his field. There was a detective who reached rank 3 through despicable means of creating cases and then solving them himself, yet he was not able to get a 0. Not in his career of more than 20 years. Nanamura Suisei got these two numbers in his prime at the age of 37, which is, honestly, quite remarkable. This kind of honor cannot be obtained by ordinary skill. Alright, let us talk while we eat. Nanamura snapped his fingers. The waiter on standby diagonally behind him poured red wine into the glass. There are two other waiters standing next to him respectfully, just like attendants serving a king. Since Kirigiri and I are still minors, they brought us a special drink menu. I ordered orange juice, and Kirigiri ordered coffee. A toast to celebrate our meeting, is what I want to say, but I have to let it go for now. In our world, a toast is not done for the opening act, but for the curtain closing. Nanamura took a sip of red wine. The waiter began to place plates in front of Nanamura. Generally speaking, French cuisine should be served in order, but for some reason, he's the only one whose dishes are all served at once. 10 hours, 28 minutes, and 49 seconds. Nanamura suddenly said another series of numbers. That's the time that has elapsed since I opened the challenge letter. The Black Challenge is being held, and the winner will be decided within 168 hours after the unsealing. To make the time period more concise, I opened it at exactly 10 o'clock this morning, Nanamura said with a serious expression, yet he didn't stop dining. I realized then that there was not much left on his plate. When did he eat all of it? Kirigiri and I each had a plate of food in front of us. If we follow Nanamura's tempo, these good dishes are going to be gone in a flash. Nanamura-san, may I ask how many times you've accepted the Black Challenge in total? This is the 5th time. A total of 5 times? I can only thank my bad luck for that. There are some detectives who are still completely unaware of the existence of the Black Challenge. No, I should say the majority of detectives don't know about it. Of course, we know about the Black Challenge. Not long ago, Kirigiri, Kyoko, and I were involved in one. Black Challenge refers to a game held by an organization called the Crime Victims Relief Committee. The game is supposed to be a duel between a detective and a criminal. The detective who receives the challenge from the criminal must immediately solve the ongoing case. The Crime Victims Relief Committee is not the kind of charitable organization its name suggests. They approach crime victims under the banner of relief and abet them to participate in the game. Their selection of crime victims as game challengers seems to be limited to those who have ignited the flames of revenge in their hearts. In short, they use those who have a motive to kill and make them criminals among the game participants. At the same time, the detectives who are opposed to the criminal side of the challengers are selected from the detectives registered in the detective library. There are approximately 65,500 detectives registered in the detective library, and their information is open to the public. The Crime Victims Relief Committee selects the detectives to be summoned according to the level of difficulty of the Black Challenge. They seem to refer to the DSC ranking of the detective library when choosing. As the rank gets higher, the number of detectives in the denominator decreases, so it's only logical that they are more likely to be selected for the Black Challenge in terms of probability. Nanamura placed his fork on the dinner plate, wiped his mouth with the napkin, then crumbled it into a ball and threw it backwards. One of the waiters steadily caught the napkin without a hint of panic at all. Then Nanamura pushed aside the empty plate, made a space on the table, and crossed his fingers on the table. Nanamura looked at me, then Kirigiri, as if he was observing us. I've seen the file of the case you solved, and that one was just right for newcomers to get started on. That serious observatory murder case was entry level? Even now, whenever I think of that day, I feel a sense of despair. But he said that it was just an entry level case. But this time things won't be that simple. Judging from the contents of the challenge letter, the criminal this time has a full understanding of the contents of the Black Challenge, and came with the conviction that they will win for sure. The most troublesome part is that opponent's mental state. They're most likely enjoying this game. I'm sure the audience will be in high spirits as well. The audience? No, you don't know? Black Challenges are released in video format. The audience watch while eating and drinking at an event called Closed Circuit. It's live viewing. Speaking of which, the criminal of the last case also told us the same thing. He said that the Crime Victims Relief Committee not only held games, but also offer them as shows to a portion of the audience. It's unbelievable. What kind of people would watch a black challenge? I wonder who they are exactly, but there's no doubt that they are able to spend a lot of money. They say that if you want to attend the closed circuit, you need to pay up almost the same amount of money to build 10,000 schools in developing countries. This analogy is so incomprehensible and lacking in compassion. In the end, it's just entertainment for the rich. Watching other people kill each other, this concept first originated as gladiatorial events in Roman times. When I think of it like this, it doesn't feel too incomprehensible. Of course, I myself wouldn't want to actually see someone get killed. By the way, why are you girls pursuing the Crime Victims Relief Committee? Nanamura asked. That's because we can't just sit back and do nothing about a criminal organization like this, I said with my head held high. Uh-huh. Nanamura nodded with a deep smile. Then he turned his gaze to Kirigiri. And you? Kirigiri shrank her neck slightly. For no reason. I didn't receive a commission in the first place. I told you, we're a team now. I couldn't help but refute Kirigiri. Also, don't you have the desire to fight the Crime Victims Relief Committee too? No. I'm only interested in making my talent as a detective get recognized. Your goal is to increase your rank? How can you say that? Especially after being subjected to their game, don't you feel resentment toward them? I do feel resentment. An unexpected answer. She answered me with her usual expression. Either she's not good at showing her expressions, or she just has the ultimate poker face. In this case, you can join me in my fight against the evil organization. The job of a detective is not only to deal with the case at hand, right? I will help you investigate if you commission me, Oneesama. You're such a... I bit my lower lip, restraining my agitated self. Don't you have any thoughts of your own? Are you a doll that won't act without a commission? At my words, Kirigiri slowly turned her face around and responded with a cold look. Is she angry? What's the point of a detective without a client? Self-satisfaction? Kirigiri said, turning her face away. Yeah, it's surely for self-satisfaction, probably. But that's what the pursuit of the truth is all about, right? I couldn't help but stand up and say. Pursuing the truth. Really? What a childish thing for you to say, Oneesama. You're the childish one here! I raised my voice. In the next moment, a noise that sounded like a trumpet rang throughout the room. I was taken aback and looked in the direction of the sound, and found that Nanamura had picked up a trumpet at some point. All right, stop arguing. As far as I'm concerned, you're both children. No, not just children, you're rookies. With a helpless smile, Nanamura threw the trumpet behind his back, and the waiter still caught it as he did last time. Being a detective is not a means of self-satisfaction, but a detective without principles isn't reliable. That said, if we average the two of you out, you'll probably be a proper detective, Nanamura said and shrugged. Kirigiri and I glanced at each other silently. Sorry, I shouldn't have yelled out of the blue. I felt embarrassed and sat back on my chair with a red face. Kirigiri remained silent with her face turned to the side. Then let's get back to business, Nanamura said. As far as I know, ever since the investigation against the Crime Victims Relief Committee began, the number of missing detectives has increased to double digits. Double digits? Do you know what that means? It means that as soon as they make a move, it'll be hard for you guys to get out in one piece as well. Such a dangerous organization, and yet everyone is keeping quiet about watching from the side? If what you're saying is true, I think it's only right to eliminate them as soon as possible. You're really brave, Samidari-kun. Those missing detectives must have said the same thing as you. However, the fact that detectives who are higher ranked than you have been dispatched in double digits and still couldn't shake this organization shows that this isn't a simple matter. Let me tell you a surprising fact. The Crime Victims Relief Committee has an office in a certain building under the name of a non-profit organization where anyone can come and go freely. What? On the surface, they're just an independent charity organization. Although it's easy to find information related to them, no matter how much more you investigate, you can only get the part of information that is open to the public. Presumably, this is how they deal with detectives. They spread countless useless information to draw attention away, so as to hide the information they really want to hide. Also known as hiding wood in the forest, just like how Father Brown put it. What is their purpose? Is it just to make someone's revenge a show for others to watch? No. Nanamura picked up his wine glass and continued, while staring at the red liquid in the glass. I heard this organization's true purpose from a detective who tracked them down. They're True purpose? The detective who told me about this is also currently missing. Perhaps because he knew the true purpose of the Crime Victims Relief Committee. Or maybe... Maybe relief is their actual true purpose. Who knows, Samidari-kun? Even though you describe the Crime Victims Relief Committee as an evil organization, do you really think so?
Surely, because they abet good citizens to kill people.
But the people they want to kill are all criminals. You've also experienced a black challenge. You should understand that all challengers have suffered a lot because of crimes. They just want to take back the life that was brutally and unreasonably stolen from them by others. In the case that involved Kirigiri and I, the criminal's family was murdered. He took revenge on the person who took his family's life in that black challenge. In this world, there are people who are enjoying a happy life without being punished for the crimes they committed. Meanwhile, the victims are living miserable lives and struggling at the bottom of society, and they cry over this unfair reality. Have you ever heard their cries?
I can empathize with their feelings, but revenge and vigilantism are not allowed by society, and revenge, even if innocent people are involved, that's still not worth advocating.
This is a detective's point of view. The only thing that can distinguish between good and evil is the difference in perspective. It's true. For some people, the Black Challenge is undoubtedly a relief, a holy war. There are those among the challengers who feel they should take action to eradicate evil and reform the world.
Is the Crime Victims Relief Committee a necessary evil? Is this their true purpose? Even so, the moment they decided to kill someone, they've already strayed from being a human. I believe they must be punished.
What a girl with a strong sense of justice, Nanamura smiled calmly. It's just that, although steel is difficult to break, it is also difficult to restore once it has been bent. It's most dangerous for people like you.
What do you mean by most dangerous? I never expected that someone would say that about me. Don't let your personal feelings get involved, Yui-Oneesama.
I'm speechless. Kirigiri usually hides her feelings under the mask of a detective. For her, it's probably natural not to bring her beliefs and opinions into her work. Even so, that isn't a reason to disregard the actions of the Crime Victims Relief Committee.
Regardless of the reason, it's selfish and egotistical to use the help of the Crime Victims Relief Committee to change your life, I straightened up and said. No matter how desperate you are, it's meaningless if you don't overcome it by yourself.
Well, that's really beautiful. I have to say, your youthfulness is both a wound and a sharp edge.
Nanamura-san, what do you think? I asked with some annoyance. Do you believe the criminals of the Black Challenge are pitiable victims?
I do think they are pitiable, but that doesn't matter to me, Nanamura replied without a second thought with open arms. As a detective, my enemies are not people, but mysteries. I want to solve the mystery before me. That's why I exist.
So it's like that.
Thank goodness. As expected of a 00 rank, I can see that his confidence is backed by real belief in his career, without a hint of hesitation. Do you think I'm the kind of detective who would show mercy to criminals? I'm not that easy to deal with.
Sorry, I said something as if I was doubting you.
It's okay.
Do you know anything else about the Crime Victims Relief Committee?
I don't know much. Just one other thing. I heard about it from a detective who tracked down this organization. The Crime Victims Relief Committee is actually administrated by only one person.
One person?
A man, no, possibly a woman, known as the chairman, whose origins are a complete mystery. That person established the Crime Victims Relief Committee almost 10 years ago and is still presiding over the Black Challenges.
He's the boss of the criminal organization, right? As long as the chairman's true identity can be exposed, it may be possible to accuse the Crime Victims Relief Committee of being a criminal organization. The shadow that had been hazy about this organization began to form the outline of a person, revealing itself as an entity. Who is that chairman? Could that chairman be a former detective? Kirigiri suddenly opened her mouth. Faced with this startling statement, Nanamura responded. He propped his chin on the table with one hand and met Kirigiri's eyes.
Why do you think so?
In the Black Challenge, the challenger's target is the real criminal of an unsolved and unjust case. This organization essentially exposes the real culprit that the police failed to identify, and then offers a game that targets them. The only ones who can do all that are people at a high rank of a great detective, I said while being surprised by my own words. Speaking of high ranks, Kirigiri nodded and then said, I heard that there were 4 detectives with the number 000 in the detective library. They've reached the top of their detective career, yet one of them had his record erased. If there is anyone who could be the chairman of the Crime Victims Relief Committee, then it could be that person.
Excellent, Nanamura applauded Kirigiri. Thanks to you, I don't need to explain. Skipping wasted time is equivalent to getting a fortune. Kirigiri-kun, you might be able to keep up with me.
Then, who's the detective whose record was erased? Kirigiri ignored Nanamura and asked.
Sadly, I have no idea. Nanamura spread his arms wide while observing our faces. It's true, because that person's file was gone before I registered at the detective library. If there is anyone who knows him, there would probably only be the other 3 detectives with the 000 title. And of course those who founded the detective library. I heard that that former detective is also related to the foundation of the detective library. Speaking of the founders of the library, I remember hearing that Kirigiri's grandfather was one of them. Does that mean Kirigiri's grandfather was the detective whose record was erased? No, I'm overthinking it. I secretly observed Kirigiri's reaction, and she was not moved at all. If we can already conclude this, why is no one making a move? Kirigiri put down the knife and fork and asked while holding her arms. Because all of this is just speculation. Also, even if the vanished 000 ranked former detective is the chairman, no one would dare to get close to them. Why? I asked. There are some gaps in this world that can't be filled with time, money, or talent. This is the gap between us and the 000 rank. Let's say they have fallen to becoming criminals. Then we need to take national level countermeasures. This is not a joke, but a real fact. This is not a matter that we can influence. This is undoubtedly a declaration of admitting defeat. To me, Nanamura is an unreachable 00 rank, and he is also a very prideful person, yet even he easily admitted defeat. Is the opponent I want to challenge far beyond my imagination? However, there is one way to get close to the Crime Victims Relief Committee. What? By catching the criminals of the Black Challenges. The criminals have contact with the top executives of the organization, or at least got the game instructions from them. In other words, the existence of the criminals is one of the few clues left behind. As long as you win the Black Challenges and extract information from the criminals, that would be progress for you girls, right? Yes, I nodded. But we shouldn't lose the criminals in the first place. This is really encouraging. Nanamura looked at his watch and got up from his chair. It's time. What? You're leaving? Oh, right. We haven't finished our meal yet. Time is money and money is time. I buy time with money and earn money with time, Nanamura said as he gestured to the waiter. All right, I want to confirm one thing from you. You will also participate in this Black Challenge. Can I take this as a given? Yes, I answered without thinking. Kirigiri glanced at my face and nodded. Very well. Then about this Black Challenge, let's go through it first. The culprit who is the challenger receives funding from the organization in advance to purchase techniques and murder weapons used to commit the crime, set them up as a deck, and the contents will be written on the challenge letter. A message to the detective. Listen to the cry of the black. Location, Norman's Hotel, 80 million. Murder weapon, pocket knife, 5 million. Murder weapon, pistol, revolver, 15 million. Murder weapon, hammer, 3 million. Murder weapon, rope, 3 million. Murder weapon, car, 10 million. Technique, hidden room, 100 million. Technique, disappearance, 100 million. Miscellaneous, cash, 1 billion. Total expenditure, 1.316 billion. Based on the above expenses, summon the following detective. Nanamura Suisei. This time, the criminal spent a lot of money on the murder weapons and techniques, and prepared a good card deck for this case. This is what Nanamura meant when he described the criminal as came with the conviction that they will win. The higher the total amount, the higher the rank of detective that is summoned. Next, I want to tell you an important thing in advance. As Nanamura said, he excitedly carried the rucksack that the waiter had brought from somewhere, wrapped the belts around his chest and waist, then closed the buckle. What's this guy doing all of a sudden? In the Black Challenge, there's a rule stating that the criminal cannot kill the summoned detective, because it won't be a game without the detective. The detective mentioned here refers to the detective summoned by the challenge letter. As far as the rules are concerned, you are not the detective, but companions, so you may also become victims.
The victims?
These unexpected words made my voice uncomfortably shrill. When I think about it carefully, we're jumping into the trap of the criminal ourselves. If we get in their way, we may not be spared. Are you scared?
No, I'm fine.
I'm so dishonest. Kirigiri still had a calm expression and nodded slightly. The conditions of the criminal's victory is to kill all the targets of revenge, and they should not get exposed by the detective within 168 hours. If they win in the Black Challenge, they will get the money used in the game as a bonus. If they have the will, they can also start a fresh new life. For those challengers who want to climb from the bottom, this is a great incentive.
That means they're throwing their entire weight around.
Exactly. On the flip side, if they lose, they must pay back the advance payment made in the game in full. If they're unable to pay back, then they must pay for it with their lives. This means that the opponent fighting us is betting his life on the line. On the point of betting life, I'm confident that I will not lose to others. I became a detective because I wanted to answer other people's calls for help. As a detective, I'm willing to sacrifice my life for justice. At the same time, about Kirigiri, she was born as a detective. She has no reason or purpose for being a detective. She received detective education since she was born, and now she's about to become a detective machine that's not afraid of death. But I know that no matter how many detective guidelines are stuffed into her head, her mind is still just that of a little girl in her first year of middle school. The Black Challenge is not necessarily carried out in an enclosed space. However, in order to avoid police intervention and also to limit the freedom of the detective, in most cases, they will choose an enclosed environment. This time, Norman's Hotel, that has been chosen as the location of the game, is an abandoned hotel located in a mountain far away from human population. Presumably, we will be quarantined there for at least 100 hours. Remember to be fully prepared. Nanomura glanced at his watch again and raised a hand to say goodbye to us. It's time for me to say goodbye. Nanomura was about to leave when he seemed to remember something else and turned back. Oop. Before that, I have to confirm with you girls what the arrangements are afterwards. Our departure time to the Norman's Hotel will be the day after tomorrow, as I have personal matters that I must attend to tomorrow. The meeting time is 7 a.m. the day after tomorrow at the roundabout in front of the bus station. I'm expecting us to arrive at the hotel at 10 a.m.
Excuse me, is it fine to go only the day after tomorrow? Wasting a whole day is...
This game is time limited, yet he's taking it so leisurely. As long as my speed exists, there is no problem. You girls can try not to follow behind me.
Yeah.
Well then, fingers crossed that we'll win this.
I thought Nanomura would walk towards the exit door of the hall, but for some reason he went towards the window. Could it be that thing that he spent a lot of effort to carry on his body? Nanomura suddenly opened the window. A gap was opened in the window, and a strong wind at the top of the high-rise building rushed in. Nanomura leaned slightly and hopped on the window frame.
Wish you both luck.
He gave us a thumbs up, then jumped out from the gap of the window. Nanomura-san! I quickly got up from the chair and ran to the window. I saw him with a parachute slowly descending towards the colorful street. The stretched out 7-colored parachute added another bright color to the nightscape. Are all great detectives like this? I stared in bewilderment at the 7-colored flower falling toward the sea of neon lights. Even Kirigiri's hand holding the fork stiffened. The waiter closed the window to keep out the strong wind. Oh well, let's continue to enjoy dinner slowly. No matter how anxious we are, the proper show will have to wait until the day after tomorrow. Yes. Kirigiri ate the fish elegantly. And this might be our last Christmas. Again, you say that like it doesn't concern you. Of course. It's not that easy to kill me. That's for sure. If you die that easily, then I'm in big trouble. There will be many more Christmases for us in the future. If it comes to that, I will protect you. I didn't say these words out loud. I don't want her to feel like I'm mixing up my sister who died in the kidnapping case with her. Moreover, I don't have the confidence to say the truth that I'm still trapped by my sister's ghost. Perhaps in the depths of my soul, there's still a sense that I can be redeemed. That voice asking for help. It was always the voice of my little sister. I'll save you next time. Definitely. Let's do our best too in the upcoming Black Challenge. Right, Kirigiri-chan? In order to improve my rank, there's no other way, Kirigiri said with a childlike face and a grown-up tone. For us, this is the second Black Challenge. What kind of event will it be?
Here's your bill.
The waiter suddenly leaned over and handed me a thick memo-like thing. I opened it, and it said the cost of tonight's dinner. 62,248 yen. What? And didn't Nanomura-san cover our bill? The waiter shook his head with a smile that brooked no argument. I quickly glanced at my wallet. There were only 2 1,000 yen banknotes inside. What should we do? I whispered, bit my tongue, and turned to Kirigiri. That sly detective screwed us. That guy's rich, but very stingy for sure. Don't panic, Onisama. Kirigiri pulled her card out from her wallet and handed it to the waiter. Payment for the entire bill. Thank you. The waiter withdrew inside. Kirigiri-chan, so cool. After dinner was over, we walked out of the building. The patch of neon that was under our feet just now had surrounded us without realizing. I walked side by side on the cold street with Kirigiri, and it felt like we stumbled upon a paradise in the depths of the ocean. Christmas Eve is passing by every second. On the brightly lit walkways, the magical lights is shining on the passing pedestrians. Goodbye. I'm gonna go this way. Kirigiri pointed to one side of the forked road and said. She left a small cloud of white mist in the cold night air, turned, and walked forward alone. Wait, let me take you home. It's getting late. There's no need for that. Kirigiri turned around and said with her 3-strand braid on her shoulder. Not mentioning other foreign countries, at least in this country there's nothing that can threaten me when walking at night. You have such a big mouth. If a man really attacked you for real, it's hard to imagine what would happen to a baby-faced girl like you. For example, like this. I took a stance to attack Kirigiri from behind and stretched my hands to her thin neck. The next moment, her figure disappeared from my view. At some point, she had stood diagonally behind me and twisted my right arm. Ow! That hurts! If you want to prove it, I hope you stay within the realm of reason. Kirigiri let go of my hand and said, Yui-Oneesama, you have to be careful. You can't beat a man who attacks you by high jumping. What was that move just now? Is it a self-defense technique? Teach me! Not today. I have to go home, Kirigiri said while looking at the clock on the street. Hey, in any case, let's go home together. Can't you tell that I still want to talk to you? You're kind of dense sometimes. A frown creased between Kirigiri's eyebrows. She then raised her head and glanced at me, then walked forward silently. I walked beside her. About the topic earlier. Self-defense? No, earlier than that. About the chairman of the Crime Victims Relief Committee. What about it? Used to be a detective before, with a very high rank, related to the foundation of the detective library. Couldn't that be your grandfather? It'll be a very dramatic development if that's the case, but it's not. How are you so sure? Because Grandpa never registered in the detective library. He told me before. Since he never did, there's no way he was among the 000s, and that means his record wasn't erased. It's a bit rude to say this, but is it possible that your grandpa lied to you? If Kirigiri's grandfather is secretly operating as the chairman of a criminal organization, then it's naturally impossible for him to confess his identity to his own granddaughter. Grandpa harbors immense pride in the Kirigiri family name, so he can't tolerate being ranked as a detective. I heard that he was the only person who opposed the implementation of the DSC system. The pride of the Kirigiri family name. Huh. To me, this sounds like it belongs to a world outside my reach. Kirigiri's grandfather is a great detective, and this can be seen at a glance from his granddaughter Kirigiri. She was able to emerge in the detective field at the tender age of 13, mostly because of the Kirigiri bloodline and the history behind it. However, none of the detectives we've met before showed any reaction to the family name Kirigiri. Even the 00 rank Nanomura, his opinion of Kirigiri seemed to be nothing more than a clever little girl. The detectives of the Kirigiri family must not have been allowed to work publicly, but live in the shadows all the time. Therefore, ordinary detectives don't know the Kirigiri family name. If this is the case, then it is possible that in order to maintain the pride of the Kirigiri's grandfather did not register at the detective library. Huh? In that case, why did Kyoko register at the detective library? She said that her grandfather was the one who asked her to register, right? Isn't this an act of betrayal to the pride of the Kirigiri family? Grandpa basically lives abroad. He often deals with overseas countries in his work. From his point of view, the Crime Victims Relief Committee is only a domestic matter. He has no time to manage a trivial matter like a small-scale criminal organization. So we aren't living in the same dimension after all. Kirigiri Kyoko's grandfather intimidated me once again. Such a powerful man fighting against unknown crimes, regardless of his reputation or official title. But at least your grandpa should have known the chairman of the Crime Victims Relief Committee, right? They might have been colleagues.
Who knows?
Kirigiri said with a serious expression and breathed onto her cold fingers.
Regardless of whether he knows them or not, we can't do anything about it.
If we can get that person's name, we can go to the office and call that person out. Maybe they'll show up easily.
Even if they show up, what will you do afterwards? How do you prosecute the chairman of a charity organization?
There's always a way, like Al Capone. Whether it's for tax evasion or other crimes, we should at least catch that person first. The most important thing is not to let them continue the black challenges.
Yui-Oneesama, excessive justice is no different from evil. In any case, let's put aside the chairman topic for now and concentrate on the matter at hand.
True. I was lectured by a girl younger than me. Nearly 12 hours had passed since Nanamura's black challenge began. The game had already started. It's precisely in times like these that I must remain calm. It won't be too late to defeat the great devil that is the organization if we wait till after this black challenge is over. If we can return safely, that is. While I was walking forward with my thoughts full of worry, Kirigiri suddenly stopped. What's wrong?
I'm home.
At the end of the smooth slope, there's a slightly exaggerated gate of a Japanese-style building, which is firmly closed and guarded. The streetlights are like signposts leading to that gate, one after the other extending towards the top of the hillside. The white wall obscures the view inside it, and the mansion that should be located behind it cannot be seen from here. How should I put it? It's just like what I expected. I looked at Kirigiri with envy. You really are a young princess.
The curfew is past,
Kirigiri said with a pout.
Even if I told Grandpa I was meeting a detective, once he knows that he was a guy, he would definitely be angry. What should I do?
Kirigiri spoke with a rare display of unease. You should have told me earlier that your family has curfews like these. I would have let you go back home sooner.
I'm home late only because I went out with One-sama,
Kirigiri pouted and said irritably.
I got in the mood and allowed you to keep talking to me.
Sorry, it's my fault. I kept apologizing. Do you want me to help explain?
That would help me a lot.
Her tone softened a lot more than usual, which made my heart skip a beat. Kirigiri walked up the ramp and stopped in front of the gate. The thick wooden gate is inlaid with rough rivets, which does not feel inviting to visitors, but implies rejection. At first glance, there's no nameplate on the gate, only a video phone with a significantly big lens. You're not going in?
Only outsiders go in through here.
Kirigiri turned a corner and walked along the wall.
Family members enter and exit through the back door.
This feels awfully strict. There are cedar trees planted behind the walls, and there's something hidden behind the cedar trees. Although I can barely see the outline of a solemn residence, I can't feel the presence of anyone inside. For those who don't know the interiors, this place emits quite an aura of mystery. You live here with your grandpa alone?
Yes, but there are 3 other servants who take turns to make sure that at least one person lives here to watch throughout the night.
Servants? Do such people exist for real? The school we go to is an aristocratic school. I've heard that a handful of students hire servants or nannies at their homes. It turns out Kirigiri Kyoko is one of them. But she doesn't seem to have a happy family. Apparently, her parents aren't with her. I haven't asked her about the specific details, so I'm not sure what the truth about it is, but it must be a big problem for her. Speaking of which, I heard you were living abroad not long ago.
That's right. I moved here about 2 months ago. Before that, for about 5 years, my grandpa and I went to many places overseas. But because I can't waste my school years, I returned home alone after finishing my work.
I keep feeling more and more that you and I are not from the same world.
Is that so?
Kirigiri said with a straight face. After walking along the walls for a while, Kirigiri finally stopped and pointed at a spot on the wall. There's a small door for one person to go in and out. Kirigiri took a key out of her pocket and inserted it into the keyhole on the door. The door opened immediately. What the heck? You had the key all this time.
The key wasn't the issue. It's what to do after this point.
Why don't you just sneak back into your room?
I'll definitely be found out,
Kirigiri said with anger. Then what should we do?
Wait here. Grandpa will come and greet you.
Okay, I got it.
I'll be right back.
Kirigiri-chan, wait a sec.
What is it?
Isn't it better to take that thing off your head first? I pointed to the Christmas hat on her head, and she silently swept it off. She stared at the hat lying near her feet with an uncanny expression.
What is this?
She never noticed. I picked up the hat and urged Kirigiri. Anyway, you should hurry up.
Yes.
Kirigiri vanished beyond the door. After letting Kirigiri go, I put my hands in my coat pockets and leaned against the wall. I've rarely seen Kirigiri being so flustered. Her grandpa must be the absolute authority to her. Or she's simply too attached to him. For her, who is without a father and mother, there's no doubt that her grandfather is her biggest supporter. Anyway, I can't help but chuckle when I think of her flustered face earlier. For someone as calm as her, she sure becomes a mess with small things like returning home. I inadvertently looked up at the street lamp and saw something shining in the sky. It's snow. It's a white Christmas. On such a night, I'm alone, smiling. What on earth am I doing? A wave of unexplained loneliness washed over me. But this year is different from previous years. I met a young girl, Kirigiri Kyoko. The loneliness and emptiness I felt in my detective career was alleviated by her. This is an undeniable fact. Will we stay together in the coming year? I tried imagining our future together. For some reason, all I could imagine is a pitch-black darkness. Is this also the fate that detectives are destined for?
Yui-Oneesama.
Hearing this voice, I looked at the door and found it open. Kirigiri stood alone with a troubled expression. Where's your grandpa? I straightened up from the wall and buttoned my coat. I walked over to Kirigiri and looked behind her, but there's no one there.
Are you the one trying to kidnap my Kyoko?
The voice came from above my head. An old man in a kimono was standing on the wall with the snowy night sky behind him. By the time I noticed him, it was too late. The old man landed behind me, lightly struck my knee sockets with his cane, and slammed my shoulder with his hand. I didn't have time to resist, and I was knocked to the ground in one fell swoop. Before I realized what's happening, I had fallen to the floor. The old man's cane is coming down. All I can do is stare up at it.
Wait, that's not him!
Kirigiri hurriedly stepped forward to stop it. The cane was suddenly fixed in midair. I raised my hands while lying on the cold asphalt. I concede.
Grandpa, take a closer look. She's a girl.
What?
The old man stared at me carefully, then unceremoniously grabbed my chest without hesitation.
Indeed.
Hey!
The old man's hand was unexpectedly strong. I slapped his hand, leaped up, and quickly moved away from him.
This is Samidara Yui-Oneesama. She's a detective from the same school as me.
Ah, so it's you,
the old man said, scratching his gray-haired head.
Sorry, I misunderstood because I received news that my granddaughter had a dinner outing with a man.
Where did you receive the news from? Having said that, this old man, he looks quite young. He has shiny silver hair, shallow wrinkles, a straight back, and a vibrant glow in his eyes. He's leaning on a cane in his right hand, but he doesn't look like he needs to rely on a cane to support his legs and feet. I guess this cane is just a weapon for him. Nice to meet you, I bowed my head as a start. That Kirigiri-chan, Kyoko-chan has been very nice to me at school and some other places.
Are you the one who made the call earlier?
The old man looked like a different person with a calm smile.
My granddaughter, Kyoko, is the one who is thankful for your care. Kyoko isn't used to life here. She's always alone. I don't know what to do about that, and I've been worried for some time. However, now that she's with a good partner like you, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Right, Kyoko?
Yes.
Kirigiri hid behind the old man, slightly lowered her head to express her agreement. She felt a little more of a strain than usual. She looked like an obedient little lamb. She's so meek in front of her grandpa. I was talking to Kyoko-chan about the current case for a while, and I lost track of time. I didn't know that her house has a curfew, so I'm very sorry. I bowed again. Next time, I'll make sure she comes back home on time, so please don't punish her today.
I expected you were the one who brought her back, Samidara Uni-kun. There are exceptions to every rule, no matter what they are. For example, as long as it's something related to detective work, no matter what happens, I won't fault Kirigiri.
So,
that whole curfew thing is just bullshit!
Thank goodness. He's not as unreasonable as I thought. He knocked me down and touched my chest. I thought for a while about what could have also happened. Fortunately, he's not as bad as I thought. He seems to be a man of generous heart. Or maybe that's just because he favors his granddaughter. I squeezed a cold sweat before, worrying that a fierce and stubborn old man would appear. But now I'm truly relieved from the bottom of my heart.
Did you think I'm a fierce and stubborn old man? You have it written all over your face.
Yes, sorry.
In the Kirigiri family, detectives are the most important. Detective work comes first, even over the death of a family member. That's the ancestral motto passed down through the Kirigiri family.
Isn't that right, Kyoko?
Yes, Grandpa.
Very well. Once Kyoko becomes a first-class detective, I'll definitely abolish that curfew rule.
Really?
Kirigiri asked with a look of surprise on her face.
I will abolish the curfew as soon as Kyoko becomes a self-reliant detective.
Yes, I'll be a great detective.
Kirigiri answered with sparkling eyes.
Good girl.
The grandfather patted his granddaughter's head. Kirigiri squinted happily. How should I put it? Although the relationship is a bit unusual, they look very happy. By the way, I interjected a bit fretfully, from the day after tomorrow, in order to solve the Black Challenge case, Kyoko-chan may have to stay overnight. Of course, I'll be with her. Do you approve? I asked.
Sure.
He simply gave his permission. He didn't even hesitate to send his granddaughter to a place where her life might be in danger, depending on the situation. And he didn't have any particular reaction to the words Black Challenge. How much does Kirigiri's grandfather know about the Crime Victims Relief Committee? At least he should have heard about the Black Challenges from Kirigiri, and may also know more about it. He's a great detective, and also related to the foundation of the Detective Library. There aren't many people who meet these requirements. Or is there someone else who fits the bill? I don't know if I should ask this. While I was hesitating, the old man spoke first.
Then Samidara Yui-kun, you should also go back early to prepare for the case. It's very cold tonight. Shall I drive you home?
No need, it's okay.
Really? Then I'll be asking you to take extra care of Kyoko.
Okay. I bowed my head deeply and made up my mind. Right. There is one more thing I want to ask. I looked up and the old man's figure had disappeared. What? I took a look around but couldn't find him. He disappeared.
What are you doing, Yui-Oneesama? If you're looking for Grandpa, he's already gone home,
Kirigiri said, standing by the door. There's still things I want to ask him that I haven't figured out yet. I couldn't help but sigh heavily. As soon as the tension disappeared, the feeling of fatigue came up all at once.
I'm sorry, Onisama, for the inconvenience.
I did have a bad experience, but as long as it's for you, I don't mind if an old man like him touched my chest. I dusted off my coat. It's great that your grandfather is so tolerant. He does take your education as seriously as I thought he would.
Hey, Yui-Oneesama, can I ask you a question?
What?
Is it weird to prioritize detective work over the death of a family member?
Well, I thought, tilting my head. It's not so much weird as it is strict.
Strict?
The meaning of the sentence is that one should concentrate solely on completing detective work, right?
No, that's not it. For the Kirigiri family, detective work is more important than the death of a family member. This is not a rhetorical device like metaphors, but a creed that must be followed.
Is that so?
Is it weird?
It may be a little unusual, but I think it's cool. That means you're proud of being a detective, right?
Unusual?
Kirigiri's unrelenting. What's wrong with her? Does she have doubts about the family creed of the Kirigiris? She's extremely proud of her identity as a detective. Yet she has doubts about her family creed that has been instilled in her since she was a child. What do you think? I asked her. Kirigiri thought for a while and then said,
I don't think it's weird.
Really? It's nice that you're able to say that.
But this might just be my own blind thoughts,
Kirigiri said with her face turned.
Otherwise, I'd feel empty inside.
She lives as a detective. To her, being alive is the same as being a detective. That's all she has. But it's okay. As long as I'm here, your heart won't be empty. I won't let that happen. I took her hand, pulled her into a hug, and patted her little back gently.
Is it okay for me to stay like this?
She looked up at me and said, Of course. You're the coolest and purest detective in the world, aren't you? Let's work hard together, starting from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kirigiri broke free of my embrace and reached for the door.
See ya.
With a wave of my hand, Kirigiri lowered her eyes shyly and disappeared behind the door. Speaking of curfews, a long time has passed since my dormitory entered its curfew. In order not to be discovered by the dormitory manager, I secretly jumped through the window back to my room. I actually broke the curfew rule on Christmas Eve. That feels good.